Daniel in his Fiesta 2015 with the G25-550 reverse rotation turbo. That was third gear. What RPM did we hit there?
7,000.
7. Nice. Very nice. So tell me, this is like part 2 to this video, and last one we did a month or 2 ago when you were just installed and done tuning. So can you tell us a little bit about the turbo? You did aux fuel, you got meth, a little bit of the setup.
Yeah, I basically got finished with everything. Before it was just on a base tune. I didn't actually have the auxiliary fuel hooked up, so I got the auxiliary fuel hooked up. Got some base tunes going. Ended up going with a different tuner. No offense to anybody out there. Just wanted it all done in a day, and actually drove down to actual JST. Hats off to Brian down in Dublin, and we actually got the tune done in an actual day. We did some road tuning on it. We also did some dyno tuning on it. And the final numbers on regular pump 93 was 350. That was with the auxiliary fuel. And then,
okay.
Yeah, 350 out of the wheel. And then with the actual, with E40, it was 408, 350. Went back down there to his open house, and then put the car on the dyno again, and it actually made 416, 365, and won the shootout. Was the highest horsepower Fiesta there, highest horsepower overall out of all the RSs, and I think there was a Mustang there too, and it was it's pretty beast, man. It's for the size turbo that it is, it's actually very, very, very responsive. You know, people think just by the size of the turbo that it has a lot of lag to it. It does not have a lot of lag to it. There is a little bit, but the throttle response is actually still there. I mean, it's good for everyday driving. I drive the car every day.
When is full boost happening?
Full boost is basically between, it depends on what gear you're in, really. I mean, at third gear, it's probably between 39 and 4,000. Fourth gear, it's like 3,800. But it's, you know, it's just where it's where you need it. I mean, it's very linear. The little bit of lag actually helps with wheel spin. Cold mornings, you can kind of hang it up; it'll spin in any gear. You know, but other than that, overall, I'm very pleased with it.
And you this is your 6th turbo, right? 6th or 7th?
This would be the 6th, including the one that's actually on the car.
Okay.
I am actually basically it's tuned with 29.5 pounds of boost. It's about 16 degrees of timing, and I'm still using the factory map sensor, like say a GTX 2860R Gen 2. To achieve about 390 horsepower, you basically have to have a 3.5 bar map sensor and about 32 to 33 psi. And this is actually doing it on 29 psi and the factory map sensor. So it's way more efficient. You know, and you then basically say a Gen 2, and you don't actually have to push the turbo as hard.
And you've got, this is the first time you've had aux fuel with any of your turbo setups, right?
It is. And it's well worth it.
And you had some input into the tune process itself, you said, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Brian listened. I mean, I you know, kind of going back and forth with him, and after even tuning it on the dyno, you know, I told him I wanted a little bit more mid-range. I mean, he'll tune it for a little bit more mid-range, you know, and we go back and forth. I also have a tune for race gas.
Sounds awesome.
And we've tuned it for race gas also, and so it's about 102 octane with the race gas.
Okay.
It pulls almost as strong as the E42, but I would say the E42 pulls maybe a little bit stronger, but it should be close to the numbers. It should be around 400 also.
said is about 360. What you're
Actually,
driving?
I drive every day on the E40 tune. It's either the E40 or the race gas, so
Okay.
it's basically, you know, depending on the weather, and it's between 400 and 416.
400, 460.
Sometimes it probably hits 420. I mean, you know, 430. I would say with the colder weather this morning, it was, because it was spinning all the way through fourth gear this morning.
So for someone that's wanting to throw this on their car, like, just to help people watching, like, what are the essentials to build this to get it balanced enough to where it can handle the car? I'm assuming in third and fourth gear is the sweet spot where you can use the power.
It not really. I mean, first and second was, even though when I didn't have the auxiliary fuel, just with the methanol on the dyno, it made 330, 325.
Right, I remember that.
So I mean, and it spooled very well also. So I mean, if you wanted to not actually have auxiliary fuel and then get the turbo is basically, you got plenty of room to grow with the actual with this particular turbo. I mean, the sky's the limit. If you want to build the motor, you can build the motor. If you don't want to build the motor, you don't have to build the motor.
So, like, best money spent aside from hardware, you know, intercooler and intake and all that, like, in terms of bracing or wheels, like, what would you say for someone that's going this route would be the most essential supporting mods?
I would basically, you definitely want to have a good intercooler. You know, the kit comes with a downpipe and everything, but I would say definitely a good intercooler.
Radiator, you've added a mount tune?
Radiator, I actually got a mount tune radiator.
Okay.
It's not necessarily, basically I replaced the radiator because just under a lot of load, like say going up mountains, you would actually get a little bit of overheat because it's always staying in boost as you're actually going, you know, in mountains, because it's actually under a load. So you don't have to have the radiator. I mean, if you just wanted to put it on, I would say maybe a 6-point brace underneath.
Right.
And some decent brakes, of course. But
yeah, I was about to ask you about that.
But other than that, I would say some good springs and a good brace, and really, I mean, you would be able to, the turbo would be. Nice. It was spinning a little bit there in third gear.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the brace because my car is around 300, so I'm a good bit less power. But even that, the brace, I would say, was the most helpful. The 6-point brace.
The brace helped out a lot.
It was probably the most helpful money I spent to get that power where
And it does. And then probably the torsion bar brace also in the rear, that would actually help out a lot too.
The lower one.
The lower one
Between the wheels.
in the rear, that would actually help out. So I mean, it's not a lot to achieve it. You know, I would say you know, some bracing. You know, some bracing would actually be a good idea. But you don't have to have auxiliary fuel. I would definitely recommend at least, you know, doing E30 or, you know, methanol injection kit if you wanted to go with this particular turbo. But I mean, sky's the limit after that. You know, 4-port auxiliary fuel. I mean, you can make, you know, with a built motor, you can make 500 horsepower if you wanted to. Brake horsepower is 465 and torque is 408. I mean, that's at the crankshaft. So I mean, that's
Dang. Wow.
that's a lot for a little 1.6. So
Yeah. Awesome. So Daniel does installs. He's in Evans, Georgia, Augusta, Georgia area. So if you're in the Southeast, he installed my turbo. He's helped me with several other
we
things.
love to help anybody out. If you have any questions or anything, you know, hit me up. I'd be more than glad to get you a build list together or point you in the right direction and answer any questions.
And I